One of the most important parts about college life in the United States is traditions, and there is one school in particular that is arguably the most important thing, Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. At one point, Texas A&M had a tradition simply known as Bonfire, in which Aggie students would spend the weeks leading up to the football game against the University of Texas, or as they would call them, TU, building a giant bonfire on campus that they would burn the week before the game to symbolize their burning desire to beat the hell out of TU. The first official bonfire happened in 1907 and would happen yearly after that until 1999. At 2:42 a.m. on November 18, 1999, the nearly 60-foot tall stack consisting of about 5,000 oak logs collapsed unexpectedly with 59 students and former students working on the stack at the time. Rescue efforts began immediately because the university required that emergency medical personnel be on site at all time. But then came the problem. They had to hand move every single one of the logs to get to anyone that was still alive in the stack because they were afraid using heavy equipment would cause the stack to shift even more and crush anyone who was still alive underneath the logs. News of the collapse rapidly spread around campus, and Texas A&M's Army Corps of Cadets, as well as the Texas A&M football team, showed up to help remove logs slowly one by one to help rescue any trapped students. After the collapse occurred, rescue workers were able to determine that 2 people were still trapped underneath the rubble of all of the logs and began the work to get them out. The last individual pulled alive out of the stack was a man by the name of John Comstock at about 6:50 in the morning the next day after being under the stack for about 4 hours. He would end up going on to survive, although would be paralyzed in his right leg and have his left leg amputated. In total, 12 students and former students would be killed in the collapse and 27 would be injured. Now, the actual cause of the collapse was determined to be a number of things. Number one, there was no real university oversight of the actual bonfire itself. It was entirely student run, and there was no real guidelines of how to build bonfire itself. The only guidance was on the back of t-shirts by the students that built it. But the actual technical collapse is because they would take 3 logs and wire them together, put them up against the stack, do that the entire layer, and then wrap steel cables around the first layer, then take the second set, go up on the next layer, jam them down to the first layer, and then wrap steel cables around that. In 1999, they didn't do that first layer steel cable, and it overstressed, breaking the logs apart, causing the collapse. In the aftermath of the collapse, the university banned Bonfire, but an unofficial one has continued for students to this day. And if you're curious if Texas A&M beat TU in the next game, they sure did.